So we're now on Daf Chavav and Beis. And what did they tell the Kohanim who were Ami Aretz on the regel? Shelo tigu b'shulchan shel lechem hapanim v'titamu. We're not allowed to move the shulchan from its place in order to be matfilit like other kelim in the Mikdash. There's a special halacha with regard to the shulchan, which stood in the Heichal on the northern side of the Heichal. And that's where they put the lechem hapanim. And that shulchan cannot be moved. So he efshal salko mimakomo. He cannot move the shulchan from its place like below. And tzach sheyel love lechem hapanim tamid behechal. V'nasata al hashulchan lechem hapanim lefanai tamid. Therefore, they had to warn the people, the Kohanim or the Ami Aretz, to be very careful and not to touch the shulchan of lechem hapanim and be metamid. Now the Mishnah clarifies which kelim were they mishtamesh in event that there were kelim in the Mikdash that became tameh. What are the second string kelim? All kelim shayim in Mikdash yesh lehem shniim. Right, in the bullpen. Ushlishim. The exact same kelim were there, ready and prepared in event that the first string kelim would become tameh. Jim nitmu rishonim yaviu shniim tachteim. And they would be mishtamish with the shneim until they would be tovel the rishonim. If the shneim also became tameh, they would bring shlishim, and they would use those. And the Mishnah now clarifies which claim migdash, when they contracted tumah, need tefillah. Kol hakelim shoyim b'migdash tudim tefillah chutz mizbach hazav. And that's the mizbach, the mizbeach inside the heichal on which they were marked to the ketores. Mizbeach and achoshes, the outer altar, where they were makriv all the karbanos in the azara. And if they didn't need tefillah, mipnei she'ein kikarka, because the status of mizbeach hazav and the mizbeach and achoshes is that of karka. And karka is not makabel tumah. The pasuk says in Shmos Perek Chof, the mizbach hanachoshet mizbach adama. The mizbeach in the Azor is called mizbach adama in the Torah. And we have an occasion between the mizbeach hazav inside the heichal and the mizbeach hanachoshet outside the heichal. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So again, the Mizbeach Hazav and the Mizbeach HaNechoshes did not require tefillah because they have the status of Mechubal Karka and Karka. Karka is not Makabel Tum. Achomim Omrim, we have another explanation as to why the two Mizbachos, the Pnimi and the Chitzoni, do not require tefillah. Mipnei she'ein mitzupin, because they are plated with Zav and Nechoshes. What does that have to do with Tvila in a mikvah? So we'll have to wait to see the sugya for that. But the simple interpretation is that of Rabbi Eliezer, that the Mizbachos had the status of karka, and therefore hence they're not makabel too. Oh no, we learned in a brisa, they would warn the Ami Aretz, Izaru shemetigu b'shulchan u'b'menorah. And apparently, even the menorah, you're not allowed to move from place to place in order to be matfilit. With Tanya Idach, we have another brisa, and that's the Tana of our Mishnah. My time alotoni menorah. Why is it that the brisa adds menorah and our Mishnah omits menorah? Why doesn't our Mishnah warn the Ami Aretz that they shouldn't come in contact with the menorah? Because the menorah, like the shulchan, is the efshal salko bimkomo. And the Gemara explains that the Tanav Mishnah holds that Dafka the Shulchan, it's impossible to be Misalik the Shulchan from one place to another in order to be Makbalit, because they had to be Lechem Aponim in the Heichal Tamid on the Shulchan. Iksiv Bey, with regard to the menorah, with regard to the Shulchan, it says Tamid. I'll read the whole pasuk. It says in Shvos Chafei V'Nasata al Shulchan Lechem Aponim Lefanai Tamid. But that doesn't apply to the menorah. They didn't need the neros of the menorah to be Dolik Tamid Yom V'Layla because Lo Ksiv Ba Tamid. So since the neros did not require Delika Tamid B'Meshach Yom, therefore you're permitted to be Masalik it from Makom LeMakom during the course of the day in order to be Matbil there. But Ve'idach, the Tana of the Bryce, on the other hand, holds that you're not allowed to be Masalik the menorah Mimkoma. Why? Kevan Dichsiv V'es HaMenorah Nochach HaShulchan is Keman Dichsiv Tamid Dami. It's as if it says in the pasuk explicitly Tamid, and therefore we could derive from this pasuk that as long as the shulchan is there, we need and require that the menorah also be there. The menorah was face to face against the shulchan, and since the shulchan needs lefanai tamid, you're not allowed to be misalik the shulchan mimkoma. Even the menorah you're not allowed to be misalik it mimkoma, because it says ves hamenorah nochach hashulchan the idach. And what about the Tanav Mishnah, who holds that you don't derive from this pasuk also l'salkum mimkomo? That pasuk is the kvala makom udiyasa. It's only coming to establish where you koveh the makom of the menorah in the heichal, which is in the darom, and it's mul hashulchan. Now the Mishnah says that we warn the Amei Haaretz not to touch the shulchan and not to be mitami the shulchan. So the Gemara asks, why was that necessary? Typically, even in the absence of this warning, it would not be mekabel tumah. Why? Because kli eitz ha'osi linachas. We have a concept called kli eitz, a wooden kli, which is designated in a certain place, one place, singled out, called Kliya Asu Nachas Lo Mitamel. It's not Makabel Tumah. My timer. What's the source for this din? But the pasuk says, as far as Kalim Makabel Tumah, it says we call Kli Eitz, O Beged O Sak, and we have a hekesh between Kli Eitz and Sak. And based on that hekesh, we're going to establish and derive the conclusion that Kli Eitz is not Makabel Tumah. Unless it's Dumya de Sak. So the Torah combines Kli Eitz and Sak in the same sentence, and it means that the Kli Eitz is only Makabel Tumah if it's Dumya de Sak. What's Dumya de Sak being on? Ma Sak Metaltel Mole Verekam. Afkol metaltel mole verekam. So sak is a sack, which whether it's full or it's empty, you could be metaltel. You could move it from place to place. And a kli eitz is makabel tumah if it's dumya this sak and it's metaltel, and you could be metaltel at both. Molia Reik. And this comes to exclude a kli eitz that's osui lamod bimkomo. It's makom echad. It only is here. It's not metalta. So therefore, how can the shulchan be mekabel tumah? And the Gemara answers, Hainami metalta moli reikom hu. Even the shulchan is not considered a klietz asul in nachas, but rather it's metaltel mole v'rekam to the Reish Lakish. The Omer Reish Lakish might be. What does it mean in the pasuk in Vayikra Chav Dalet? As far as the chalos lechem aponim, it says v'samto samal shulchan atar mechlal shu tamei. From the fact that Torah had to designate this shulchan and exclude tamei, only a tar is a my klietz asul inachasu. Why are you worried about the Tara and the possible tomb of a kli of the shulchan? It doesn't make any sense. The shulchan is not metaltel, and therefore it's not susceptible to tumah. Ela malame, this teaches that the shulchan is not a klietz asul inachas, and you can move the shulchan. And when in fact did they move the shulchan? So they took it outside the heichal of Marimpo, li ole regolim es lechem aponim. And they wanted to show and display the lechem aponim to the ole regel, the omer lehem, and they would declare to them, Re'u chibaschem lifnei hamokom. Look how beloved you are in the eyes of God, that God did this miracle. Lechem panim, it still remains fresh. Kisi luko, kisi duro. When we take it off, it's as fresh as when we put it down a week earlier on the Shabbat of the past Shabbos. The Omer Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi nei skadol nasa b'lechem hapanim, kisi duro kach si luko shenemar lasum lechem chom biyomi lakcho. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi darshans this pasuk that the lechem was cham, was fresh and warm on the day that you took it off, just like on the day that you put it there. So since the shulchan would be moved, it was not asul nachas, but rather was metaltel b'regolim. Therefore, it's roy l'kabel tumah. Therefore, we have to be careful about warning the Ami Haaretz that they shouldn't come in contact with the shulchan and be metami the shulchan. Okay, this is where we'll stop for today. Let's just make a note of it. We got up to Vitepukle. Let me take this opportunity to wish you a great day. And it's good to see couple. Shalom Aleichem, couple.
Aleichem Shalom. So good
Thanks,
to be here,
Thanks for joining us. Okay, then.
Yom Tov.